Salve, Forth Paladins, and welcome back to another episode of Starfleet Command. Orion Pirates Postmod. I'm Commodore Tarek of the Dreadnought HMS Exile, as we continue our campaign against the Lyran Star Empire, and things are, well, a little bit out of control. The Lyrans have punched back hard and have neutralized quite a few tiles in the invasion corridor, so we're going to have to do a little bit of work in order to recover our position. So without further ado, let us set out into enemy space and see if we can't cause a little bit of damage. And it looks like we found one of the counterattack groups out in the open and exposed, and we're going to dive right on top of them and lunge at them with everything we have in our heavy dreadnought. So let's kick up our speed to as fast as we can go. A surprise reverse. There's no reason in order to go slowly or to set up defensive countermeasures of any kind, aside from a little bit of shield reinforcement, because they're not going to shoot back, if you're lucky. We're squaring off against a frigate, and just a whole ton of frigates looks like a pirate group. This is probably a destroyer, a light destroyer of some description. We have no allies on this mission, so it's just going to be us leaping atop of the enemy. And by the time we hit the current speed setting, we're probably going to have enough power to go even faster. So let's kick the engine into full gear and lunge as fast as we can. That's our maximum speed as long as we're still charging them Hellbores. We do have a pair of fighter groups which I'm going to try and avoid having to deploy, mainly because I worry about having to repair them and rebuild them, as that can take a while. Okay, it looks like we've got two destroyers. You know how I said I wasn't going to deploy my fighter groups? I lied. We're going to deploy the fighters off in this direction and hope that they don't have Plasma D torpedoes, because if they do, these fighter groups are going to take a lot of damage, and if they don't, these fighter groups are going to deal a lot of damage. I'm looking forward to it. We're about to find out. We're almost within range. Not quite, actually. We're still pretty far away. That's our maximum speed. There shall be no far beyond this. So at full battle rattle, we are not quite capable of doing much faster than, well, 25. 26? Looks like we're making up to the full 26. You actually look to be a double raider, which is pretty interesting, and you're a war destroyer. You have a pair of missile launchers with C-Racks, and you have disruptors, similar format. So let's get right on top of you. I did not overcharge my fusion cannons. Luckily, we had enough firepower to utterly annihilate them. You do not have a point defense system. You do not have a point defense system. You do not have a point defense system. You do not have a point system. So nobody has point defense, which is lovely. And it sounds like the Hornets are already starting to engage, firing their Hellbore cannons at the Slasher, doing a lot of damage as they come on in, making best use of those long-range guns, and then getting in tight with their Gatling phasers. A lovely show right there. I'm going to order them to come and support me here on this assault. That way they will hopefully be able to do a little bit of damage. And I'm slowly crawling over top of them, so I can do that. Okay, you've got to come home, buddy, because you are down to no health at all. So let's get him home, and you know what? Let's also call you home. We get both fighter groups back, because I don't want them getting killed. And one of the easiest ways they can get killed is if they get within the explosion radius of these ships. Fighters are naturally hard to hit. As you can see, we automatically have an attack shift of 1 just by innately being small, nimble, and maneuverable. And so that makes them quite excellent at dodging incoming enemy fire. Not amazing, but decent at it. What they can't avoid, however, is area of effect explosions like mines and, well, ship explosions. So you try and keep them away from that as much as possible. Alright, these two ships are identical in terms of what they're carrying, the Burglar and the LR3F. Well, it'll have a name once we get within range. Alright, only one more ship to go. Hopefully he will not turn on in time, and we'll be able to just waltz on over him. In the meantime, we're also going to spend a little bit of power into the forward shield. As you can see, we are almost out of forward shield power at this point. Okay, not almost out, that's a slight exaggeration. We're still at dark green, so we're still doing okay. But we're not doing as well as we could. And in fact, I'm going to crash stop right here. Just put as much power as we've got into the forward shield. We're going to sit here. There's no reason to move. We're within a range of 1, which means we should do maximum damage. And he's not powered on yet. So this final phaser salvo might be enough to kill him. We're about to find out. Yes, it was. And it's the Gatling phasers that obviously put it through on that one. One of the greatest weapon systems ever devised. So our Dreadnought able to do quite a bit of damage to the enemy. Dreadnought's very useful for assaulting planets and bullying people. Carriers would be really nice, but the problem with taking a carrier is we would not have any real ability to assault a planet. So carrier we might pick up on a cleanup crew. And a convoy raid, that'll work out quite interestingly. So convoy raids are alright for what we do. I mean, we could launch our fighters in an offensive mode, and we see a single freighter, and that's it. So we know which direction the convoy's in. We're going to have to chase it down. Let's get ourselves up to full speed. We have a similar problem as the last mission. We need to get to the enemy before anything can happen. Unfortunately, it's going to be a bit of a trip, and they are not traveling directly towards me. We're going to set our course a little bit off to the side over here, and hopefully that'll be the right course to intercept them. Another freighter has shown up. Quite a few of them will show up. And another one. Okay, so we're already traveling right into the middle of this convoy. So alter our course even a little bit more now, because we do want a bit of an interception course going on here if we have more power. Also, let's take this opportunity, fusion cannons to overload, because there is going to be a fight, and it is against a heavy cruiser, and this heavy cruiser, well, he's not carrying the weapon pallet beneath him, so he'll probably be an actual combat vessel. You're a new heavy cruiser, aren't you? NCCF, yes indeed. Fire probe. And increase our speed very slightly as we come towards him even faster. Most of our fusion cannons are fully charged. Hellbores not so much, they're still working on it. More power is free and available. We'll take even more. So we know that it is a new command fast cruiser. Or maybe it's a cheetah fast cruiser. 4 disruptors, 2 expanding sphere generators, plus an additional 2 for 8 phaser 1s, 2 phaser 3s. So this is very comparable with the Federation NCC. Or just the CC Plus, which is pretty much the same armament, minus, it doesn't have an expanding sphere generator. It's 4 photon torpedoes, which I would rank a little bit higher than disruptors, although they're supposed to be kind of comparable. Let's go forward shield to maximum power, additional power to all the electronic countermeasure you can possibly muster, and slow down the ship to a combat speed. Now, his expanding sphere generator does allow him to engage us relatively quickly. I'm going to try and shoot it down should it come on. And he did launch pseudo frigates. That's what I was afraid of. So let's launch our... They won't listen to me if I launch them, and I don't feel like losing them because we're going to be out in space for a little while. So we're going to run over this NCCF. So Hellbore selected. In case he turns on his expanding sphere generator, we can shoot at the ESG directly with the Hellbores. It's one of the few weapons... Well, I think it's the only weapon that can do that, and it's a very, very fun thing to do. Okay, we're in tight. Hit him with everything. 126 damage in one pass. Oh, that's phenomenal. Alright, let's come around and just steadily get on his course. Oh, that had to suck for him. He's still doing a speed of 8. A heavy cruiser that takes 126 damage has no armor. Guaranteed. He is just trundling along at this point. We must have taken a big chunk out of that. Now, he does, of course, have his 2 pseudo frigates out, which add a single disruptor. They're not very good. Lyran pseudo frigates, in general, not particularly good. Lyran's, in general, just not particularly good. I suppose I shouldn't have on him too much. He's trying. Gatling phasers, engage, please. Thank you. The problem is that the Lyran pseudo frigate has to compete with the Romulan and the Gorn pseudo frigate. And the Romulan and the Gorn pseudo frigates are so ridiculously powerful, it's terrifying. Romulan and Gorn pseudo-frigates have, of course, plasma torpedoes on board. The weakest Romulan pseudo-frigate, the INT, and this goes with the Gorn as well, has 2 F-type plasma torpedoes, and this is the armament that they bring to bear with their basic version. Yeah, it's not really worth noting. Oh, we're at point-blank range. We're going to engage with everything we've got. Okay, pseudo-frigate's destroyed. There's only the Tender left, and the Tender does have an ESG. We gotta give him some credit for that. Our port-side fusion cannon is still available. He also does have decent shields. The rest of the convoy is pretty much parallel to us, so I'm not too worried at the moment. And range is 4.5, so we're not really in fusion cannon range just yet. We want to be, well, kind of closer than that. And we're about to get hit by his ESG. Did a pretty decent amount of damage, but we were able to respond and do quite a bit of damage back to him. And Gatling phasers stripping away most of his systems. Our phasers are about to come online to fire everything we've got. And punching through, starting to deal a decent amount. He has managed, as a Q ship, to cut through our armor. Well, not our armor, but our shields. There we go, nailing him with another ESG. Or not ESG, sorry. Nailing with a Hellbore, which, much more interesting weapon system. A little bit more plinking going on. We'll have another Hellbore ready to go shortly. Although a portside Gatling phaser is ready, the starboard side not quite yet, but if he comes around to the back, we'll definitely give him something to think about. Maybe increase the speed a little bit. There we go. So we are getting hurt a little bit out of this one. There we go. So we kind of hurt ourselves by trying to force the issue, but I'm not going to complain because we've dealt with the enemy in its entirety. Let's, well, we're fully repaired for the most part. There's a little bit of damage to weapon systems, but that won't actually start to affect them until the weapon system is actively destroyed. So I'm okay with that. We're going to track the convoy for a little bit. How much are we dealing with here? So we're going to increase speed slightly. So as long as we can't see the edge of the board, I'm happy. If worse comes to worse, I can launch the fighters. The fighters will get in there. They'll annihilate them in no time at all. So I'm not particularly worried. I just would like the forward shield to come back. That was my goal, and it is here. So let's start sapping the shield budget. Give me a little bit of shield power. Okay, we still need some power to charge weapon systems such as the fusion cannons, as those may, as you might suspect, be particularly important weapon systems. Okay, they're not really on this particular ship, but they could be. I mean, I suppose if you boated up between 4 and 6 fusion cannons on like a light cruiser, you could have a really potent, in-close, nailing ship. The problem is that once you get that close, you're starting to deal with, well, people's phaser 3s. And, well, yeah, you can do that. The problem starts becoming that they have nothing else to shoot at besides from you. So even if they don't focus their main battery on you, you're gonna get some really negative attention that you probably don't want. Alright, let's just increase the speed of time and dive on top of this convoy. So we'll try and avoid any hits to the forward shield because, wow, he's able to bore through our shields at a distance of 32? That's impressive. Gatling phaser taking care of that. And Rage 5. I didn't need to, but I'm trying to be a little bit more conservative, slightly, so that we actually can survive and not take too much damage, because now they're definitely through the armor, as the Hellbore's been knocked out entirely, which is never a good sign when you start losing Hellbores. Yeah, they're definitely through the armor. We've been bled dry by now, which is very unfortunate, since we want to stay up here for as long as we can. And I may not have sufficient firepower to actually kill them. So I'm going to get within a range of 3. It should be outside of detonation distance, and also within killing distance. Alright, on to the last one, the unarmored freighter. And make sure that we've got everything queued up in the damage control, because I'm not going to return home after this. We'll rely a little bit more heavily on our fighters, but we ain't going home. So how much longer until we're the edge of the map? Oh, he almost made it. He almost got there. We're not going to let him leave, but he almost did it. So here's a prize. The Jungle Stone. We read your name before you died. That was your prize. Alrighty, so our Dreadnought was able to carve his way through a new command cruiser as well as the entirety of the convoy, of which there was also a Q-ship that we let in super close. We probably shouldn't have allowed him that close, but it didn't matter very much in the end. 354 prestige and a tile taken. Pop over here because we're going to try and secure the whole area. Take a patrol as usual. We're up to 4,820. We need to save probably around 10,000 in order to get our really big ship. Maybe not. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating on that, but that's my initial gut feeling. Slow down a bit more. And that way we can kick on the overloads, because it might be a battle. We are currently paired up with the Schreiber's stuff, as well as Angler. No enemies currently inside. Angler's actually not terrible. He's got triple plasma torpedoes, 2 Fs and a G, which, that's 60 damage right there that he can just pour out, in addition to his 3 additional phaser 1s, which at point-blank range can deal 10 damage apiece. So he potentially has the ability to output 90 damage, and he's a frigate. That is not bad at all. There is a light cruiser off in the distance. It is a DSL? Is that what I saw? A D5L, not a DSL. He's a Klingon light cruiser, not an internet connection. So we'll kick up the speed and start trundling on forward onto him. We'll dive on him, nail him with everything we've got, because I think that's all that'll be necessary. Unless he has friends. You know, friends would make things a little bit more difficult. And this is just a graphical glitch. The Hellbores are charging fine. Don't need to worry about them at all. We'll increase the speed of time a bit as we trundle on forward. I'll send out a probe just for luck. And I do not see anybody else. It's just him, and he is, as most D5s are, with quad disruptors, 4 phaser 1s, 2 missile launchers, and a quad of phaser 3s. Which I wonder if those become Gatling phasers in the late era, or the advanced era, I mean. Because that would be a good idea. I think it would be anyway. Plasma torpedoes are away. That will, of course, result in him stopping on a dime. However, that means that he has lost all his initiative. We are right on top of him. Insufferable is about to have a very, very bad day. We are going to go right on this corner because it's going to deal a lot of damage and blitz through both of them. Wait for it. Wait for it. Whoops. I didn't quite realize it was going to deal that much damage to him. I'm not complaining. I'm just amused. So, a D5, not much of a match for a Regent-class Dreadnought, which, upon reflection, that makes a lot of sense. So, 132 prestige for that, and the tile taken. We're going to pop over here. We've almost got things back under control. Almost. We've just got to finish putting out a couple more fires around here. Oh, they took the tile. That's ungood. And then it's an asteroid base assault, which is not happy. Asteroid base assaults tend to take a little while because you have to actually take down the actual asteroid base. And it's off here in the distance. If we're going to glance here, we are moving off to the left side of the map, also known in some courses as the west of the map. Or the westerly side. Or, let's see, is it anti-spinward? I think so. Maybe? I don't remember. It's not important. So let's make sure that our fusion cannons are set to overload so they're operating at optimal efficiency, and we'll increase the speed of time because this fight's going to take a little while. Anyway, somewhere off in the distance there is a frigate. It's a Lyran frigate. Are you a police ship? It's an HDDF. Okay, he's got some pride here. He's not terrible. He just looks like a ooh, he's got friends. Oh, his friends is an FTT. You guys look like pseudo frigates, I'm not gonna lie. Let's go electronic countermeasures. Let's go maximum forward shield so that all that disruptor that this pseudo frigate is currently carrying will have something. These look like small patrol boats. Not exactly the thing I would like count on saving me. His pseudo frigate looks about the same size as him. So, hey, that's actually not terrible. He's got a pretty significant amount of firepower for what he is. 4. Alright, nailed him with most of the things. He didn't kill him. All additional weapons because we're going for a point-blank range strike. Oh, you hurt me quite badly, sir. So, all that mockery was, well, he's quite nice, actually. Although I think I've got him. I think. There we go. Okay, so his pseudo frigate is gone. Now we've got an FTT, or, yeah, FFTP, which it's not as good as his buddy was, but it's interesting. All of our weapon systems are back online, so if we want to, we could just start unloading on them with Hellbores, and I'm really getting to that point where I'm thinking that's a good idea. Unless you come in close with me, in which case... Oh, you came in close. Alright, so we've dealt with the enemy defenses. Unfortunately, our forward shield is quite low, which is not a great position to be in. So, maximize the speed of time. And we'll start to pick up the speed a little bit. We're not going to need the fusion cannons for a little while, because we're not going to be able to get in the range to use them. So there is that working sort of against us. Where's my power screen? I'm going to sap most of that shield power so that I can fund a hungry engine. Get ourselves up to full speed. And eventually run into that station somewhere off in the distance. I don't want to have to use my deep scan system, but I will. Luckily I didn't have to. Okay, good, excellent. Drop down 1 point of speed just so we have a little bit of defense as we move in. Hellbores will launch as soon as they can, but I believe their range is 40, I want to say? I don't think they have the same range as photon torpedoes, which have a range out to 55, which is awesome. Yeah, 40 is the maximum range on the Hellbore, according to the small pamphlet of justice. And the moment we hit that range, we're going to hopefully start hurting them. We'll slow down, we'll start doing a steady, slow assault maneuver, where we just get closer and closer, bit by bit by bit, until he cries. Almost to our range of 40. He does have an attack shift of 2, which is very unfortunate. Slow down. And we're going to go maximum electronic countermeasure, and I'm going to wait until that system is actually operational. And we're going to get ourselves to actual slow trundling speeds. Wait for the ECCM to do its magic. And yeah, we're going to fire. Okay, not great accuracy there, I'm going to be completely honest. Although, to be fair, it has a 28% accuracy at this range, which will bump up, once we hit 22, to an accuracy of 44%. Which, again, is not amazing, but we're working on it. We're going to get there, and eventually he's going to not have a good day whatsoever. Engage. 4 damage, plus another 4 damage. Okay, so we got 8 so far. Basically, we've managed to hit him with 2 proximity photon torpedoes equivalent. I've got 24 points of power in my forward shield, but that's not enough to withstand colossal firepower from the station itself, so we're just going to have to slowly get a little bit closer. I'm going to wait to fire until a range of 22 because our accuracy is about to go way, way up, and I'd like to actually make that work. So 22 coming on up, and open fire. And another 8 damage. So pretty much the same as the last shot, basically. According to this, our next range bracket is a distance of 15, which I think we can actually maintain. That brings our damage up to 10 from 8. It also brings our accuracy up to a 58% chance. So I like that odds. So we're definitely going to go for that distance of 15 up there with the Hellbore. And another 8 damage. 2 of the Hellbores managing not to connect. If the damage is supposed to be 8 on the Hellbore from that range, then why is it only dealing 8 damage? Does that mean... Well, that must mean that 3 Hellbores have been missing, which is not tremendous. But then again, we saw the 2 Hell... Oh, because that was still in the 23 range bracket. We're almost to a distance of 15. Imagine him, that one's 16. That's 2 Hellbores managed to nail him. So once we hit the 15, that'll be the 58% chance. We will stop. We will start just taking on to the damage, because the next range bracket doesn't start until 8. And at that range, I know for a fact that his defensive systems will knife through, well, his offensive defensive systems, his phaser force, will knife through our shields at that. 30 damage, and I'll stop. So that's 3 of the Hellbores have managed to impact onto the enemy. Now we must wait to do a long, long siege battle. On the bright side, it's not going to take as long as a Federation ship, because a Federation ship would be lobbing photon torpedoes, which would have their damage at 4 per photon torpedo, and that means they're doing a maximum of 16 entirely, whereas we can do 30, but then also on occasion we will miss entirely. So it's kind of working out actually for... However, we are a much larger vessel. Once we start dealing damage to his Phaser 4 mount, that's the big one right here that's shooting out those big massive beams, those ones right there, we can start getting in close. And another 30 damage, slowly whittling away, knocking out armor, taking down systems. His Phaser 3 is still intact, but we don't really care. I could launch my fighters, but my concern would be that he would start targeting the fighters with his Phaser 4s, and then we'd lose fighters, and that's not fun because it's really expensive to replace them. They're good fighters, but they're expensive fighters. So having to rely on our Hellbores for this long period of siege engagement, c'est la vie. So once the Hellbores finally actually start knocking out the important systems, once they burn through his armor, then we can steadily start getting in close, use our Gatling phasers, use our fusion cannons. But it's going to take a while. We managed to hit something, so I think we're through the armor. And we've knocked out something because it's showing that he's got damage all over the ship. But I'm not seeing anything special, so I'm not sure what's actually down. It can't be electronic countermeasures. It's got to be power generation, although he doesn't need a lot of power since he can't move. So one of the biggest things that you have to spend power on is just going to be either shield reinforcement, movement, or weapons. Well, he's only got 8 weapons, 4 of which will feed from the same phase capacitor, 4 of which will never need to charge his phase capacitor, because they're always charged. And the Phaser 4s, well, yeah, he doesn't have that much power in weapons, let's be honest. Electronic countermeasures? He's not actually countering them, that, so he's spending nothing there. Wow, every single shot. Really? Really? So he's not countering me in electronic countermeasures. So where is all that power going? He must be sitting at just massive amounts of excess. That's somewhat of a shame. He doesn't have a tractor beam. He's not using his ECM. No shields to reinforce. No movement to go. 1 hit? Really? Out of 58? We're just not having any luck today. Either that or the gunnery crews decided to go on vacation and they put the B team up here because they thought it was going to be a cakewalk. Guys, no! Get back to your stations. It's time to leave the holodeck. Although I don't think they have the holodeck in this era. So what are they doing? Playing Parcheesi? Continue to fire. Nope. Not doing a Holton probe. Yeah, that's what I thought. Let's start getting a little bit closer. Well, it's just a little bit. Because I think we can take a little bit more damage. Hopefully. Maybe. Potentially. We're going to find out. It's definitely getting close to how much we can actually take. Because once we fall between a couple of range brackets, then we're going to start taking massive amounts of damage. And that would just be unfun. Yep. Also, because we don't really have much of a forward shield aside from the reinforcement. Now, that may have changed a little bit since we've been shelling this base for so long, but I don't really want to put it to the test because when things start going wrong with a Phaser 4... Oh my god, the crews just hit the broadside of a gosh darn barn. But once things start going wrong when you're fighting somebody with Phaser 4s, they can go really wrong, because those Phaser 4s are firing at a really rapid rate. They fire every single turn. They deal a ton of damage, and if you suddenly have to turn away, that's not a reinforced shield anymore. They're going to cut right through it. Moderate damage is not infinite damage. He's lost half of his defensive systems. Get on the move. We're going to get in close now. We're going for that distance of 8. And, you know, closer than that as well, because we're going to get the fusion cannons involved. We're going to take a risk on this, because we're about to get right up close and personal with somebody who does have spare parts and can fix that Phaser 4 mount. Only 2 hits. We're almost to our distance of 8, which will increase our accuracy to 72%. Hellbores are amazing weapon systems, and they're awesome, and I love having them. Although I kind of am a little bit sad that we didn't take the heavy cruiser approach in this one. Because heavy cruisers with Hellbores, they just zip across the galaxy. Nailed him for 52 damage. It's lovely. We're going to get right on top of him before we start to engage with everything we've got. Alrighty, so we're nearly on top of him, but the forward shield is starting to fail. But I've got to get within range of all weapon systems. Yep, he's through the forward shield. Fire! Yup. Once the fusion cannons get involved, the game is over, sir. Mainly because by the time you actually get to using the fusion cannons, you've already whittled away 90% of his health. Not quite that, but we came close. God, that took a while. But that's asteroid-based assaults for you. 236 prestige wasn't even really worth it. Did neutralize the tile, so let's come back to our little defensive yard over here. We're up to 5,188. I don't think there's anything on the list of things we need to buy. There's an old-style Paladin class dreadnought, but the regions are just so much better. Everything is pretty cheap around here, so we don't really need anything. Supplies, I don't need any of that. I need no fighters, because I have the best fighter available, the Hornet 3, and the maximum spare parts. So we're good. But that's going to do it for today's episode. I've been Tarak. If you like what you've been seeing, hit that like button and subscribe. If you want to see a notification every time I post one of these videos, press that little bell icon, leave a comment, and I will see you all in the next episode.